Howdy doody there everyone, my name is ParithParX's and welcome to a video that's probably going to make me or potentially you very hungry. Welcome to a tier list where I'm going to be just ranking a bunch of random restaurants. As usual with these videos, I've gone ahead and taken all the shit that I've never been to because half of these things are either in Canada, halfway across the fucking country, or in Texas. The only reason I know that is because I watch a lot of Joshua Wiseman and he's done videos on these before. Also, I really want to go to Jack in the Box. It's making me hungry, so we're going to go ahead and move along past those. We're just going to go ahead and rank these boys here just based off of, is it good? Are the ones that I go to, do they have consistency? Are, it's edible? Is the menu pretty good overall? And that's just how I'm ranking is based on my opinions. Some of these things I'm just like, they're all right or stuff like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Starting off with Jimmy John's. B tier for me. I haven't been there in quite a minute. It's probably been a couple weeks and whatnot. But I feel like their sandwiches are all right. But I think Jimmy John's is pretty good. They're pretty good consistency-wise. Their meats are pretty good, honestly. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. Next up is Papa John's. Papa John's is also gonna be middle of the road, but I'm gonna put it down in the C tier because usually it takes quite a while to get a Papa John's because the nearest Papa John's is a good distance away, and the last time we went, we got some. It was burned, and I'm not too happy with that. But when it's not burned, it's actually pretty good. It's like oh, it's got like it's pretty good. The toppings are all right, all that shit. So just consistency, but they're getting a C because they burned my food, and I'm still pissed. Next up is Arby's. I don't really eat most of their menu, to be honest. I mean, the only thing that I really like is the roast beef sandwiches and the shakes that they have there. And other than that, it's just kind of like, meh. Next up is Zaxby's. Zaxby's is pretty good, honestly. I like me some Zaxby's. I can just go down the road and get me a pretty decent sized platter, but sometimes their fries can be sat out for too long. I don't know how long their policy is on their fries or to keep them in warmers and shit like that. But they're sometimes kind of stale, soggy. But the Zaxby sauce is pretty good, honestly. Honestly, I'm digging Zaxby's right now. I'm hungry as hell. Next up is Sonic. Sonic is really, really fucking good. Sonic has a lot of things. Unlike other restaurants like Zaxby's, where they just have like maybe 20 items, Sonic has a lot of fucking options. I mean, you can make a crap ton of the shakes or the slushies and shit like that, and it is always just really pretty good overall. And their corn dogs are pretty shit, to be honest, but they're really cheap, and you're not gonna go wrong with them and stuff like that. And they have some pretty good food too. I just usually go there for the slushies, but when I get food there, it's pretty good. Next up is Burger King. Burger King made me sick one time. I'm gonna give them a D tier because when they didn't make me sick, they're all right. I mean, it's not like they're crazy good. And honestly, their ads are kind of fucking annoying now. The have it your way ones. It's at the point now where I see it like every single day, and it's kind of gotten on my nerves. But it's all right. I mean, the only thing I'll really eat there is the nuggets, and even then those can be hit or miss. Those can either be kind of good or kind of shit. Next up is Wendy's. Wendy's is a B tier, honestly. I think it's a pretty good place. It's got some good shit to it. It's a hit or miss one for me, but I think they have a higher good to bad ratio, favoring it being good, which is really good because the closest place to me is a Wendy's. And they're really, really good. Sometimes they're really good most of the time. Everything's edible, so Wendy's gets a B tier for that. Next up is Taco Bell. Taco Bell is an A tier, and for me, I feel like Taco Bell is like this really, really good place. There's a lot of good shit there. I really like the Doritos Locos Tacos there. Those are pretty good. The five layers and all that shit's really, really good, honestly. And they're like great when you're just tired and hungry. I mean, if I'm just like hungry and I have like a couple, like $7, I can go and get like a box and they fill me the fuck up. Next up is Subway. Subway's kind of Subway's kind of D tier to me. The Subway that's nearby to my house isn't really that great. when it comes to, I wouldn't say cleanliness, but the last time I was there, it was kind of gross. And the sandwiches weren't really that good too. The meat wasn't really too good. It was very stale. It wasn't really that great of a sandwich for the price tag. Next up is Applebee's. Applebee's is like, it's C tier. I don't go there often. We only go there for like special events or special occasions. Applebee's fancy as hell for me. That's the second most expensive place I'll eat. And Applebee's is just, it's all right. Next up is Auntie Anne's. I don't go here often. I'm just gonna put it in the B tier. I've been there once recently, and because it's just in one spot on the other side of town in a mall. But the one time we did go there, it was all right. The pretzels are pretty good, honestly. I digged those pretzels. It's a pretty good pretzel overall, and I think it deserves some praise for that. That was a damn good pretzel. That's the only thing I had was a pretzel. Next up is Chili's. C tier. I haven't been here. I've been here once again recently, and they're okay. That's all I can say is just they're okay. Next up is Chipotle. I've heard so much good shit about Chipotle, and I've been dying to try it for a while because I've only had it once, and it was a long time ago. I don't know why I didn't include it in the list up here, but just for the sake of just because it's already here, we'll just put it right there. We'll just say yeah. Next up is Denny's. Denny's is getting S tier for me, just because Denny's has these awesome pancakes that I get on my birthday. I try to get on my birthday every year, but there's two places I go for my birthday. Denny's and one that I'll talk about later. Denny's has these awesome cinnamon pancakes, and oh my gosh, I love the pancakes. The pancakes are really good. Next up is Domino's. Domino's is all right. I'd say it's C tier. It's good. It's just another case like Papa John's. Sometimes the food can be a little bit hit or miss. Next up, CC's. CC's is a little bit better in my opinion. CC's is like, it's a little bit, it's like if Domino's and Papa John's was like on a line, CC's is like a little bit off that line, just a little bit. Next up is Hardee's. Hardee's is middle of the road for me. I haven't been there in a little while, but last time I was there, they were all right. A lot of these are just gonna be, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right. What can I say? I go there once and I'm just like, yeah, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So yeah, moving on. Next up is KFC. KFC is an A tier for me. Pretty all right. I mean, I feel like, you go there and you get a meal and you just, you're gonna be full of shit. I mean, they have the chicken sandwiches they have. Those are pretty fucking good. So next up is Buffalo Wild Wings. I think it's what, yeah, it's what it is. They're C tier for me. They're like, there's actually another place that's not listed here that's a lot better for when it comes to like wings and stuff like that. I don't really eat wings. I'm not a big fan of it. I like, there's this place, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It's like an hour drive and shit like that to go there, but I've been to both of them, and Buffalo Wild Wings is all right. Next up is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is fine. They're pretty, well, I say they're fine. They're pretty decent. The reason why they're going higher on this list is because they have a really, really good morning biscuit and shit like that. And those biscuits are fucking good. Chick-fil-A has a lot of hype down here. It's like the place that everyone goes to. Funny story actually. I was going out to the other side of town because I was going to do something the other day, and we passed by the only Chick-fil-A in my area that's like a mile, that's not like a mile out or like an hour out, and oh my gosh, that line was wrapped around the fucking building and out into the fucking road. People, like, it was ridiculous. I mean, they have like, this is a huge ass building, mind you. This is a big ass restaurant. This is a big Chick-fil-A. I mean, they have a fuck ton of places in there, and that drive-through line was wrapped around the fucking building. It was ridiculous. Next up is Panera. Panera's fine. I don't think they're too crazy on my list. They have a pretty good soup. But other than that, I'm not really too big a fan. Next up is Long John Silver's. I'm not a big fan of seafood, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna give this a B tier because they have some pretty good hush puppies. I think they have hush puppies. Am I wrong? I feel like I'm having a really dumb moment. Yeah, they do have hush puppies. Yeah, they have some bomb ass hush puppies though. Next up is Marco's. I feel like Marco's is kind of in the same category as CC's, honestly. They're like barely above that line compared to like Papa John's and Domino's when it comes to shit. Next up is the International House of Poop. They're gonna get an A tier for me. I feel like the pancakes are pretty good there. Not as good as Denny's, to be honest with you. I feel like because I feel like their dessert pancakes are a lot worse than Denny's, honestly. And they're pretty alright though, other than that. So I'm just gonna give them an A tier. Next up is McDonald's. McDonald's easy S tier. I mean, come on. What else can I say about McDonald's? I know I could talk about, you know, oh, the food is, oh, it just doesn't have this quality to it. It's not high class. Bitch, I could go down there and get me 2 sandwiches for $5. I'm not gonna fucking complain. Next up is Dairy Queen. They're okay. They have some pretty good, shakes, but other than that, I don't really know much about their menu because the only one that's nearby closed down like several years ago, and I don't know what. Haven't been to one since. So yeah, B tier. Next up is Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut is kind of the lowest of the lows for me when it comes to pizza. Just because I feel like they're kind of like really very, very much so. Like, I feel like they have the most inconsistency when it comes to pizza for me, just in my area. I mean, I think they're one of the more expensive pizza joints, fast food chain wise, but they're usually pretty bad, honestly. I mean, I always have issues with this stuff, and I don't really think it's the fault of the people. I just think the toppings are fucking garbage. Next up is Starbucks. The only reason this is getting a higher listing than it is, I fucking hate coffee, but they have this really, really good thing there. I think it's like the caramel ribbon crunch, I think is what it's called. Dude, I used to get that shit all the time when I used to work my previous job because it was like there was a Starbucks right in the store. I mean, that shit was those things, they were pretty decent for what the fuck they were. I mean, I'd always just get a big old one and it'd get me through the day. Next up is Waffle House. Waffle House is gonna get an A tier for me. I feel like, you know, out of the 3 that I've talked about breakfast wise so far, it's like right below IHOP, just because actually no, I think they're above IHOP. I feel like, because I feel like with Waffle House you get like you get some pretty decent portion sizes, and the food's pretty fucking good. You get like a whole breakfast and shit like that, and you know, that's pretty fucking good. I mean, what can I say? They're pretty fucking good. Here, next up is Olive Garden. Olive Garden is the other aforementioned place I go for my birthday because they have this really fucking amazing thing. Now, you wouldn't think Olive Garden would have a steak menu, but it does. They have like this 8-ounce sirloin. It's like you get it in some Alfredo and shit like that. The shit's expensive as hell. It's like $20, but oh my fucking god, it is so. Oh, Olive Garden is like the fanciest Applebee's. It's fancy as fuck. Next up is Red Robin. The nearest one kind of closed. They didn't close. I think they moved a while back. They're all right too. All right, so next up is Dave and Buster's. Dave and Buster's is kind of like really a miss for me. Honestly, Dave and Buster's is going to be the one that I'm putting F tier in. I just feel like the food is not too great overall, and the price tag doesn't really suit it. And on top of that, you know, the games and shit like that, I mean, it's expensive as hell. I went to a Dave and Buster's a while ago on, I think, my birthday, We were out in a really popular area on my town because it is like the place to go in my area, and we went into the Dave and Buster's there. It was expensive as shit, and we none of us felt it. We immediately left. We waited in a line for like an hour to get in, and then we just left. All right. Next up is Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel is gonna get it's an A tier for me. I don't go to Cracker Barrels that often. I've been to one like a few months ago, but they're okay. I mean, their pancakes are nothing crazy. I mean, I feel like on the hierarchy of pancakes, I feel like they're kind of like in between IHOP and Waffle House. Next up is Krispy Kreme. B tier. The reason being is because when I was younger, I loved Krispy Kreme because it was always the thing that you would get in like school from like teachers and stuff like that. You'd get like a single donut and it'd be like the best thing in the world. Now that I'm older and kind of trying not to eat very sugary foods and stuff like that for the most part, it's just I'm not really a big fan of it anymore. But it's still really good. Don't confuse me for a second. Same for Dunkin' Donuts, honestly. Also, I'm not a big fan of the fact that it's with coffee and stuff like that, as I said with Starbucks, but they're both okay. They have good donuts overall, I feel like. But other than that, can't really say much. Next up is Baskin Robbins. B tier. Next up is the Cheesecake Factory. This is an F tier for me. This is it's a complete miss. I feel like Cheesecake Factory is kind of like Sonic, but except it didn't do as well. Like, what am I trying to say? Cheesecake Factory has way too much shit, and some of that shit's not even good. It's kind of expensive. The one time I did go there and eat, it was like incredibly not great for the price tag. And I feel like it is I feel like it's like the bottom so far, and it's not that great. And the cheesecake is not even that great either. Next up is Firehouse Subs. Firehouse Subs is pretty high up on my list. They do a bit of a better job than Subway, honestly. And they do a pretty decent job, and I really like their Next up is Golden Corral. I feel like Golden Corral is kind of low on my list. I feel like out of all of like the dine-in restaurants that or like diner, buffet style restaurants, I feel like they're kind of the most not too great one, because I feel like a lot of the food that they have is not really up to par with the price tag that they ask. And I don't even know if we have one in our area anymore. I remember we went there one time and there was like a fucking fondue fountain of like chocolate and shit, but there was also bugs. Lots of bugs. Next up is Hooters. Hooters is it's alright. I feel like minus like one thing, I don't really eat much off their menu, and they're pretty good, all things considered. I mean, they have a good menu. Next up is Cheddar's. I feel like, oh my gosh, Cheddar's is expensive. Cheddar's is like, if I said Applebee's and Olive Garden were expensive, Cheddar's is like up there. Cheddar's is like the expensive, but they're pretty fucking good for their price tag, so you can't really complain too much. I mean, they're pretty good overall. I mean, yeah, pretty good. Next up is Crystals. I feel like I'm not a big fan of Crystals, to be honest with you. We've eaten it throughout my life a shit ton, and I've never been a big fan of it. Their bread is always so bad. Their sliders are completely terrible. I fucking hate them. I can't lie. They're awful. They're terrible. I mean, they're so close to being good, but they're always so dry and stale, and they always taste like they've been sitting in a warmer for several hours, and I've never been a big fan of that, so just F tier. Next up is Red Lobster. Minus their whatever was it, like the cheesy bread or whatever it's called? Minus that, I will not eat a single thing off that menu. It's kind of the same as Long John Silver's, but just not as good. The Hush Puppies on Long John Silver's are a lot better. Next up is Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse is in the same category as Cheddar's, but it's a little bit better. Good luck trying to get a seat though, because Texas Roadhouse, you could be waiting an hour just to get a seat. It is that packed. It's packed on the weekends. Oh my gosh. There will be people parking in like other parking lots just to go to Texas Roadhouse. But they're all right. They have pretty good food. So yeah, moving on. I'm just gonna go ahead and put these last three in here. I'm gonna talk about each of them individually, but they're all S tier in my opinion. And I'm gonna move it up here just so we can kind of see the final thing. The reason being is because Little Caesars is as like McDonald's, it's like the cheapest of the cheap, and I feel like they do a pretty good job for their price tag. And I feel like they're my favorite pizza joint. They also have some pretty good. They also have a pretty good sauce. Panda Express is also really good. I'm a big fan of their platters and shit like that. You know, you walk away, it's like $10 and you're feeling pretty good. And then Popeyes is without a doubt my favorite place to get chicken sandwiches. I feel like they do the best job with all their shit. And that is the end of the list. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope maybe you have some food that you want to go get now. Let me know maybe if there's some restaurant that you feel like should have been higher, or maybe there was one that you feel like is dog shit and I'm wrong. But other than that, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, consider comment, like, subscribe, and all that usual shit. But until then, this has been Pair Howdy. Hoping you guys have, or Pair with, sorry, fuck. I always do that. It's always going to be a running joke on this channel. But yeah, until then, this has been Pair with Parax. Just hoping you guys have a good one. Saying.